to Philo for Thought's monthly podcast. I'm Chris Salbuda, CEO of Philo for Thought, and with me today are Mr. Frank Peluso, the Director of Academic Service Learning at St. John's University, and Mr. Nick Carey, the CEO of Prospero. Thank you. And we are recording today at Sun Yat-sen Hall in St. John's University, which those of you who know me know that this was an establishment founded by one of my favorite mentors, Patricia Lucas. So we're commemorating today's podcast to Dr. Lucas. All right. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Doing well.
All right, so we're going to focus today on the concept of academic service learning, and then Nick, I'd love you to jump in to discuss the components of academic service learning that are possible through AI. Well, Frank, you can talk about the initiative as it is on campus.
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good.
That sounds
All right.
good to me.
Should I go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Frank Peluso here, Director of Academic Service Learning at St. John's University. Here at St. John's, we try to embed service learning and civic engagement right into our students' curriculum and our faculty's curriculum to help enhance the student experience. St. John's is heavily involved in numerous communities all over New York City, Long Island, and all over the United States and abroad. So we're really heavily involved in impacting the community partners that we work with. Academic service learning specifically is where we try to work with our faculty members here at St. John's to help put service directly into their curriculum. This isn't just doing any old random service. This is tied directly into what the faculty member is teaching in their course. And we do it on a small scale with our first year seminar class for our freshman students. It's mandated they do that in that programming. And then we expand all the way up to our graduate programs where we have some amazing faculty members that are educating our youth and as well as taking them abroad to impact communities all over the world. So it's really a multi-layer facet we do here at St. John's, and we're always looking to grow and get involved in more communities all over the world.
That's incredible. Yeah, and so I am I'm the founder and CEO of Prospero, and the idea behind Prospero is that the best way to learn is by doing, right? But for a lot of people, it can be challenging to actually get that type of experience before they start a career, or if they're trying to work in a service space, something like that. So what we're essentially building is a tool that is easily accessible, something like you might have like a Coursera or a Udemy. But instead of you taking a course, it's actually almost all entirely project-based learning. And so what we're utilizing AI to help us generate these types of real-world projects, and then also provide, basically an AI assistant that you can kind of query and ask questions for, or ask questions, get feedback from. So as you're kind of completing these projects, you can get some assistance, right? And that way we don't have to support. We don't have to hire a bunch of people to kind of provide that support. We can kind of automate that process. And I think especially relative to things like experience-based learning or service learning and things like that, making it more scalable so more people can engage in it, I think is super important, right? These things tend to be very, I don't know if you guys know this best, but they can be very operationally intensive, right? So if we can work to generate types of experiences or projects that are kind of short and to some extent automated or easily replicable, more people can do it. And that's kind of the ambition behind Prospero, is to make this more accessible for people who can't get the opportunities otherwise. So
Nice. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds really cool, especially when we're talking about project-based for our faculty. Those are the big things we're really looking for in terms of expansion and growth in ASL. The faculty-based projects, the ones that really leave the bigger impact on the community, as well as the students that are being taught during that course. Just an example, we have a faculty member at the graduate level in the speech pathology program who's done this for a number of years. She created a great relationship with a small community in Guatemala. And then in her fall semester class, she teaches her students skills to provide assistance to children with disabilities. And then in the spring, she actually takes those students to Guatemala to use those skills to impact the community. And because it's been a long-term project, we can actually see the growth and the development for it, where they're not only helping the students there, but they're teaching the community members those skills to help their own students when they aren't there to provide the assistance. So it's really that long-term project we're really looking for. So project-based, what you're discussing, is exactly the type of thing that may be beneficial for our community partners and our students.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. So the next thing is, so what I'm starting to hear from both of you right now actually ties into the next question. So there's this concept in Greek culture called philotimo, which is kind of like a reciprocity, a humanitarian kind of value of like giving back and receiving, and just kind of a life of gratitude, right? Which feeds in directly to the Vincentian culture, very much so. And in fact, in the introduction to our last symposium, I talked about, because we hosted it at St. John's Manhattan campus, and I talked about the fact that we're celebrating two things: philotimo from the ancient Greek culture, but also Vincentian mission. And since it was especially our first semester back in person, it was just really nice to see those two concepts coming to life for the symposium. So in that with that in mind, I'd like to see what you guys think about diversity and inclusion. So Nick, you started talking about accessibility, which is part of that concept, and Frank, we have such a diverse campus already, but how does diversity feed into the concept of academic service learning? How does it make it a more robust experience, in your opinion?
That's a very good question. So St. John's is one of the most diverse universities in the country. We have students from all walks of life, all backgrounds. Most of my students in my own course speak multiple languages. So we try to make our impact on our students in the classroom as diverse as possible. So with our service projects, because we are in a lot of different unique communities, just for example, all over New York City, it gives the students an opportunity to really dive into maybe what they're interested in, maybe dive into something maybe that they feel a little more comfortable with, because it could be a community that they're involved in or a community that they would just recognize themselves in it. And I think just because we have these different types of projects, literally dozens of projects that can fit whatever a student or faculty member is looking for, I think that really helps with our diverse student population. And also because we are international, we have opportunities to do ASL projects at our Rome campus, on our Paris campus. We have a faculty member doing something in Spain, in Salamanca. I know there's a little bit going on in Dublin too as well. We do Ecuador. So because we're so diverse, I think it's important we have that international platform. And we're really pushing our students here on campus to not only study abroad, but also serve abroad. When the students study abroad during just our normal study abroad program, they will be taking classes over there that have service embedded into it. So they're getting not only the service experience here in Queens or in the five boroughs, but also on an international campus. And I think the combination of all that really gives that global sense for our students. And a lot of our students are, they're graduating from here with a degree or two, and then they're going back to where they're from, wherever they are, wherever they're from in the world, and they're leaving that impact there. So I think that whole idea of diverse campus and equity and inclusion in the classroom is incredibly important. And when we're talking about building projects for it, I think that's something we really have to put at the top of the list of our focus to make sure to give that whole impact for our students.
Yeah. I think something that we care a lot about at Prospero is that I think one of the most valuable things that you can get or you need, right, especially when you're trying to start your career or you're trying to explore a certain path, is experience, right? That is the most important asset. That's what people look for, and it's also what kind of helps you build a sense and acumen that you can kind of take, right? But it's not everyone can get experience, right? So a conventional approach to get some experience in a particular field might be an internship, right? But internships might vary in quality, and they also can be kind of difficult to access, especially if you're someone, let's just say, who doesn't have the time. Let's say you're constantly working to kind of support your family. You don't have time to go do an internship, especially an unpaid internship, right? And so one of the things one of the goals behind Prospero is being able to help people gain valuable real world experience in a way that is not going to be a full-time commitment. Essentially, the way Prospero works is we basically say either certain careers or interests that I have. This is what I want to try and learn more about, or maybe be more engaged in, and then we match you with specific projects in those spaces. And we work with our partners to try and make them as real world as possible. And they're done on your own time, right? So you can take 2 weeks to do them. You could do a month, whatever you want, right? And then the idea behind that is now hopefully making it more accessible. And I think kind of going into on the diversity side, right? That is kind of the big play where you could be anyone from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection to some degree of drive. And through Prospero, you can gain real world valuable experience that you can then actually show by generating a portfolio on our platform to potential people and kind of like build that resume out. So I think it's super important in any space we're talking about.
I think just to chime in there, I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of students nowadays have a lot going on in their lives, whether they're working a job while trying to go to school, maybe they're taking care of their siblings, maybe they're commuters, so they're commuting an hour and a half each way. So as a former academic advisor at St. John's, I always push my students to provide service because, like you said, it can just be done maybe an hour a week, maybe an hour every other week. And then long term, if you see all those hours and that impact, you actually see what you're able to do. And that always looks good on a resume. It does not matter what major or career you're going for. It doesn't matter if it's medical, law, education, STEM. Having service on your resume goes a long way. It shows that you're willing to maybe get out of your comfort zone and provide support for people that need it without receiving anything in return. And as somebody who's hired people before, that's definitely something I look for. Because it means they're committed to a community. And when I'm trying to hire somebody, I want them to be a part of our community. So I think that's incredibly important in terms of accessibility because our students are so pushed in many different directions nowadays. They have so many demands to meet. And I think that's incredibly important that it makes it as easy as possible for them to get some experience in wherever they're going.
I love it. Thank you, guys. So actually, that ties into one other concept that I've mentioned to you, Frank, a couple of times. On campus, we have a hybrid concept called the Global Online Learning Exchange, which one of my other favorite mentors, Zoe Petropoulou, directs in the Global Initiatives Department here at St. John's University. Now, this GOLE mission really is there to allow students to have that diversity experience if they don't have it, if they haven't experienced it yet, because maybe their world, like their universe, is not diverse yet, even though the campus is diverse. Their world might still be kind of limited. And so they need that little exposure. And the benefit of this GOLE concept is that they don't have to pay extra for a study abroad experience. They're getting it in the classroom here. And meanwhile, they're working with an international school somewhere else. And my group is going through that this semester, and I have to tell you, they are real troopers, and so are the students at the other school, because culturally, the two, like the Greek students in Greece, have a different way of doing everything than the students here. But what they found to appreciate about each other is that the Greek students also have jobs and take care of families and do all this stuff, and they have the strong family values there and the strong core of responsibility and everything. And in the face of economic crisis, they rally and still manage to do their studies. And the students here were able to relate to that because a lot of them are here, they're taking care of their parents, or as you said, Frank, their siblings or whatever, and they have extended duties outside the classroom, which traditional students used to not have all this on their shoulders. They used to be a little bit less. So I remember I had more time, because my concept of work was working on campus in the tutoring center and like international students office and doing my little things here on campus, but I didn't have to leave the nucleus of the campus, um, and that was just the style. But now the style has changed, and so it's important for us to be able to bring online opportunities over to the students more and more, as much as possible, and to also to preserve the concept of academic service learning, which is in keeping with that whole Vincentian mission that is at the heart of St. John's University and at the heart of Feel for Thought as well. On that note, I'm going to add also the Feel for Thought offers, and we've successfully run this program for credit at CUNY and SUNY schools across New York, and also a couple of places in Canada and Greece have allowed their students to share and take a 3-month internship with us. And through that, they've gained experience because they get matched with mentors, they get jobs afterwards. And as you said, Frank, it looks really good on their resume to show that they worked with a nonprofit, that they got this mentoring assistance, and that they were able to do it and just give. And they show that they have this giving nature within them. And so it speaks a lot to who they are, their character, and their qualities. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but if you have closing thoughts, I'd like to know what you think the future of academic services. And Nick, excuse me, most importantly, what the importance of AI, the role of AI, what you think it will be in the future moving forward, because that's like, it requires a lot of forward thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so for ASL, one of my main goals in the near future is to really showcase our faculty and our students and our community partners and the amazing things they're doing. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle here on campus with all the other amazing things going on. So really showcasing our faculty so then our faculty can essentially sell to our other faculty why ASL is integral in terms of what we're trying to do at St. John's. My dream would have ASL implemented in every program here, even if it's just that in their like intro courses. Just so they can always have that experience tied to their career choice. And I also want to just be more active with our community partners in terms of our faculty forming those relationships in their communities. Just like our students, our faculty members are from all over, work at multiple institutions, multiple backgrounds, and their experiences and their expertise is very, very important in terms of what we're trying to do. So showcasing them and showcasing the amazing things they're doing, I think, is part of what my role needs to be, because hopefully that'll turn into a little more funding for our faculty, and long-term, so we can develop long-term projects, because ultimately the long-term projects are the ones that leave the most impact. And then if I could just tell my students to don't be afraid, start being okay with being comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. A lot of students are nervous about entering communities, nervous about trying something new. That's what college is for, to get out there, test some stuff out. Maybe you find something you love that you never knew. So that combination, along with the connections you would make while entering a community, are incredibly important, just as important as any degree or class you're taking. So just take advantage of what your institution or St. John's has to offer, because all schools offer quite a lot.
Before you chime in, Nick, I want any students of mine who are listening in to know that this is the modern day Socratic method that Frank is describing. So you can use that in your next journal. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it. Nick, please.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that you run a hybrid course where you work with students in Greece. Right?
Yes.
Now, these students, I assume this is done through video, right? And
it's done by podcast.
Podcast. Okay.
Yes.
So 25 to 30 years ago, your course would not be possible to do right now, because
True.
you need an internet connection. You need a platform to build your podcast. The reason why I bring that up is that I think looking forward, artificial intelligence right now, in many cases, is a buzzword, but it does represent a new paradigm in computing and a new way that we can actually approach and build new tools that we can't even right now even imagine what we're going to create, right? So just like how 30 years ago, it would probably be super unrealistic / not even imagine, like you couldn't even imagine what you offer. That same, maybe in 20 to 30 years, it can be totally different, right? So I think we should look at AI as a new platform for building tools, right? And I think when it comes to like service learning, right, what are things that we can utilize AI for, right? Whether that's maybe helping people be more efficient in like developing content, right? So it's easier to actually create more content, and we can share more educational resources, right? Or maybe you could use AI to effectively translate content. Maybe you're doing a service project out somewhere internationally, and you need a tool to like help create content or material in another language, right? There are so many opportunities here, and I think it's really the sky's the limit. So I think it's important to look at it somewhat optimistically as a new platform to create new tools that can help us do anything. And I think in service learning, there's going to be a ton of opportunities in that space.
Now I'm going to ask a quick follow-up question. So in my class, we talked about, and in one of my earlier publications, I talk about something called the modern day version of the cave allegory, right? So the cave allegory with the guys who are like forced to stare at the screen, right? Or the cave wall, right? But we're forced to stare at the screen. How can we engage with AI without becoming the new slaves of the cave allegory?
That's an excellent question. That I admittedly I don't know, but I will say that again. Sorry, I think it's important to recognize that AI is essentially a form of computation. It's a way to, from a technical perspective, it's just a way to interact with a computer, right? So it might look like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get answers from ChatGPT and it sounds like I'm talking to a human. You're not. It's really just an algorithm that predicts what word is next, right? And it does it very well. So it's not going to enslave us anytime soon. Therefore, I think it's better to look at it like as a new form, just like how the internet came out in the '90s and it became this whole new world. AI has that potential, especially learning LLM is the current thing that everyone's talking about. So again, I would look at it optimistically. What in what you're doing, whether you're a student or you're working like in service learning, or ask yourself like, yeah, how can I use this to better achieve my goals? Like, can I use this to like help me brainstorm new ideas? Could I use it to help translate certain anything? There's so many things you can do with it, right? So look at it as a tool. I would encourage people to definitely take time to explore like OpenAI, like GPT. If you have any coding proficiency, try out their API, try and work with it. It's super easy to use. But just think of it as a platform to build new tools that can help you achieve what you want to try and do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Did I answer your question? I don't know if I answered your question.
It did. So what I'm going to share with everyone is those of you who are on campus at St. John's University, please touch base with Frank about academic service learning capacities, or with Dr. Petropoulou about global online learning exchange opportunities. You can also, if you want to learn more about AI, you can reach out to Nick directly, or you can attend the Long Island Philosophical Society's upcoming conference in April 2024, which we will post the information on our website in the spring. You are also welcome to attend Philo for Thought's Spring Symposium in May, which will be held on the St. John's Manhattan campus once again. All right. With that, I thank you guys for joining us today and appreciate all of your time and effort and wisdom. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Signing off, you guys.